Good evening, buonasera, guten Abend, bonsoir, good morning, and good afternoon. I don't think I have forgot anything. So this is the last presentation before the summer break, and then the video conferences will be suspended until 9th of September. And on Tuesday, 9th of September, we will come back with a presentation on tramways of Algeria. I have a thought of making this presentation especially for foreign people, so it will be made in English and not in Italian. I'm sorry for the Italians that are listening, but it's made for those people that don't know Turin and its tramway system. And the purpose is to let them know it and encourage them to come to Torino next December to see our Trolley Festival and our international conference. So that's the contents of the today's presentation. Just a few words in Italian before starting. Buonasera a tutti, benvenuti a questa ultima puntata delle videoconferenze internazionali. Questa è l'ultima puntata prima della pausa estiva, poi avremo 2 mesi di vuoto e torneremo il 9 di settembre, martedì 9 di settembre, con una presentazione sui tram dell'Algeria. Questa sera la presentazione la farò in inglese perché è fatta specialmente per le persone straniere e allo scopo principale di intanto di fargli conoscere il sistema di Torino, che spero che gli italiani conoscano già, e poi di incoraggiarli a venire a dicembre qui a vedere il nostro Trolley Festival e anche a partecipare alla conferenza internazionale che sarà intitolata Tram dal passato al futuro e sarà a Torino dal 5 al 6 di dicembre, mentre il Trolley Festival sarà il 7 di dicembre. Turin is located in northwestern Italy. You see the red point, the red dots. In the region called Piedmont, at the foot of the mountains, about 600 kilometers north of Rome and 584 kilometers south of Paris, as the crow flies. Torino is the 4th biggest city in Italy. It has 850,000 inhabitants in the inner city and about 1,700,000 inhabitants in the metropolitan area. It was the first capital of the unified Italy just for 4 years, from 1861 to 1865. Then the capital moved to Florence and then again to Rome in 1870. It's a city of a heavy industrial heritage. I think that everyone knows the Fiat car factories that have their headquarters in Turin. But now, currently, it is a city with a strong tourist vocation after a long period of the economical and industrial crisis. The first tramway ran in Turin in 1871, and it was a horse car. You see that in the picture. But before, we had the omnibus service, so the trackless horse cars, with 2 lines that began service in 1846. As I said before, in 1861, there was it's a very important date in Italy because it's the date of unification of the country under the then monarchy of Savoy. And 10 years later, 1871, we had the first urban tramway in Italy, the horsecar. It was a private line operated by a local entrepreneur named Saverio Avenatti. In 1874, network expansion began, and the tram system, horsecar tram system, was operated by the CGT. It was a Belgian company. At that time, Belgium was very important in the field of public transports, and the Belgian companies used to run many systems, transport systems abroad. In Italy, it was their most important system after that of Florence. In 1879, there was a takeover by another society again with Belgian capitals. It was called TT, Société Anonyme des Tramways de Turin. And in 1880, a second private society began operations, and it was called STT, Società Torinese Tramways Ferrovie Economiche, in open competition with the Belgian society. So we come to the maximum development of the urban horse tram network in 1890 with the 12 lines from the TT company and 6 lines from the STT company. And also a big interurban steam tram network composed by 11 lines. So this is the map of the first rails in town. You see in red the first horse car line run by Avenatti. It was a short section of about 3 kilometers from the core center, Piazza Castello, towards south. Single track with 4 passing loops. And plus there was one interurban tram line, a steam line from Torino to Rivoli, that is a town in the surroundings. Then there were also 2 urban omnibus routes without tracks. Another important milestone is in 1884, the opening of the first mountain, let's say mountain railway, the Sassi-Superga. Today, Sassi-Superga still exists, but it has been transformed into a rack railway in 1935. But at the beginnings, it was a funicular system with a very particular system called the Agudio system. It was a particular system invented by an engineer, Agudio, an Italian engineer. It was one of a kind. Here you can see some photographs of the period. You can note how sharp they are. This is Piazza Gran Madre in the town center. Here you can see the bridge on the River Po. The River Po is the biggest Italian river that crosses the town, the city of Turin. And you see the horse cars at the terminus. And the big square that you see there is Piazza Vittorio Veneto, and will be the end of the tramway grand parade on the Trolley Festival next December. The tower on the top left, right, you see the tower with at the left is the Mole Antonelliana. That is the symbol of Torino, and now it is a place where the National Cinema Museum is located. Another photograph of Piazza Castello. Piazza Castello is the core, the center of the town. And it will be the center of the tram parade too on the 7th of December. You see how many lines there were. Piazza San Carlo is another beautiful square in the town center. Now all these tracks have gone, but there was the tramway once. Piazza Statuto is another beautiful square. And this square, Piazza Statuto, will be the departure of the tram parade for the Trolley Festival next December. In the center of the square, there is the monument. You see the little mountains, the bunch of stones, let's say that. It is the monument to the victims of the Frejus Tunnel. The Frejus Tunnel is a railway, very long tunnel. It was bored between Italy and France in 1870, and it opened in 1871. Here's a picture of Porta Nuova. Porta Nuova on the left of the image is the biggest railway station in Turin. Not many people, not much traffic at that time. Okay, here you see Piazza Castello from another perspective. At the long street here is Via Po. Via Po is a beautiful street with arcades on each side that has always been run by tramways. Here you see that at the beginnings there was a steam tram, it was an interurban tram starting from Piazza Castello and going towards Moncalieri and Chivasso, surrounding towns. Okay, here you see a second map, and you can notice that a certain development has been reached already, because there are many yellow lines that are the interurban tramway lines, and the green and blue lines are the networks, the two systems of the two different private companies in competition between them. So the blue lines are the STT Torinese, and the green lines are the TT Belgian lines. And now we come to the electricity era. And in 1897, a third private company was founded, called the SAEAI, Società Anonima Elettricità Alta Italia, in competition with the other two existing private companies. In response, the older companies came to a mutual agreement and give rise to fully unified management. So from this moment on, people will simply call Belgian the whole set of these two companies. So they say in Torino, there is the Alta Italia and the Belgian. But in reality, the Belgian was composed by two private companies. In 1898, the first two electrified tramways start regular operations, and they were the line of Boulevard from the Belgian company and the line 3 from Alta Italia. Maximum extension of the private urban networks was reached in 1900, and at that date there were 80 kilometers of tracks with 17 Belgian lines plus 7 Alta Italia lines. For the history, in 1900 the brand Fiat was born in Turin. And for those who do not know, Fiat, it's an acronym meaning Fabbrica Italiana Automobili Torino, Fiat. Fiat will produce in the coming years a lot of tram cars. In 1904, electrification of the interurban network began with the first line Torino-Trovarello. This is one of the first electric trams from Alta Italia, 1898. See, two-axle car. And this is a car from the Belgian company. Linea dei viali means line of the boulevards. It was named like that because it ran actually around the city center, running in the big boulevards of the city. This is a postcard of Via Cernaia, a very important street with line G. Piazza Statuto, the same square that you have seen before, with an electric tram and trailer from the Belgian company. The Belgian lines were named with by letters and not by numbers. So you see line G, line F, line D, and so on, line O. While the other, the Alta Italia, had letters. This is Via Pietromicca, another important street in the town center, with two lines of different companies, line 3 from the Alta Italia and line I from the Belgian. And then we come to a milestone, 1907, a new social sensitivity to the establishment of a public transit company. The former Alta Italia is municipalized and becomes the first nucleus of the public urban network. So the newborn municipal society is named ATM, Azienda Tramvie Municipali, a new company owned by the Turin municipality. In 1915, so just at the beginning of the First World War, we come to a maximum development of the ATM public network with routes that are in competition with the two remaining private networks that have 17 routes. During the First World War, no further extension, of course, of the network occurs, and many men at war are replaced by women as drivers and conductors. Then after the war, there's a big economical crisis that boosts deterioration of vehicles and tracks and accelerates the end of the private companies. So in 1922, the Turin municipality takes a strong decision, that is to stop all the private concessions by paying a ransom and to transfer all the urban networks to the public company ATM. So the Belgian private company will survive, but just for a few more years, but confined to a few interurban lines, so out of the urban service, and to the Sassi-Superga funicular. Then for the history, in 1922, the fascist regime in Italy begins, and it will last until 1943. You see the network, the tramway network in 1910. In red, the ATMs, so the municipal tramways. In blue, the Torinese tramways, in green the Belgian tramways, and in yellow the interurban lines. Some differences that you can appreciate between Belgian and municipal trams. You see on the left, the Belgian tram has a green livery, lettered lines. The lines are named after letters, and they have a trolley current collector. While the municipal trams have a red livery, lines are numbered, and they have a bow current collector. So these are the main differences. In the meantime, the patronage is increasing, and as tram cars at that time are always two axles, not articulated at all, more trailers are introduced to face an increasing patronage. You see on the bottom, there's a summer trailer called Giardiniera. You could translate a garden car. It's very popular at that time. You see some picture of the First World War, women at work, but also tramways are used to transport projectiles or transport wounded or dead soldiers. After the war, the growth of ATM begins. Here are some photographs of the 20s. This is always Piazza Castello with one of the first tram cars with automatic doors on Route 4. Now we come to that I have called the last roaring years of trams. The 20s are very important because in that period, extensive and challenging works are carried out in order to unify and rationalize the city tramway systems. So the ATM, the municipal new company, makes a refurbishment and the standardization of the existing vehicles. For instance, the trolley poles replace the bow collectors on all cars, and the green livery is repainted in red, but also it purchases new cars, modernizes a track switch overhead line, and eliminates parallel alignments, and makes also new extension, builds on new extensions of the tramways in the suburbs. In 1925, the road circulation in Turin turns from left-hand drive to right-hand drive. This is a curious story because I don't know if you all know that once almost everyone went on left, like today in England, Australia, Japan, and so on. But in those days, some began to change the sense of circulation. In Italy, we changed it in the 20s, from the left hand to the right hand. Another important change was in 1928. There was a national decree stating that all urban car liveries had to be in a double shade of green instead of the red that or some other colors that we had before. The completion of the new rationalized ATM urban network was accomplished in 1928, And the final point was 110 kilometers of tracks, 27 tram routes, plus 3 shuttle bus routes. At those times, the bus was its first apps, of course, and these 3 shuttle bus routes were replaced after some years by trolley buses. In 1928, the maximum extension of the interurban network was reached with 12 lines. But the next year, the first interurban closed. 1930 saw the introduction of the first modern 4-axle tram car. It was the Fiat 2500 series, and it was made after the Peter Witt American system, and for Italy was an absolute modern vehicle. In 1931, opening of the first trolley bus route. I go faster. In 1937, a new interurban public transit company was established, named SATTI, and it took over all interurban lines that were run by private companies before. So in the 20s, there was a huge roadworks activity in Turin. And finally, 1928, this is the unified municipal railway, tramway network. So you see all red because it has become all municipal, plus the yellow interurban lines. I named Peter Witt before because in Italy we took this system of the passengers flow inside the car, let's say the Peter Witt system, very seriously, at the point that you all know the Milan's Peter Witts, that they were 500 trams, all the same. But also in Turin, we had many Peter Witt cars, and we still have some of them restored and running today. The most beautiful were these 100 units of the 2500 series, plus the other 110 units of the 2100 series, built in Torino by the Fiat. They were single-ended cars and with a typical Peter Witt configuration. So seated places for staff, driver and conductor, door specialization, front boarding, center and rear alignment. Here are some photographs of those cars. The difference between the 2500 from the 2100 series is the length. So the 2100 were a little shorter, and the power, there were less power, only 2 motors instead of 4. Just a peculiar image because it shows a Peter Witt tram with the bow collector and also the trolley pole. It was a special configuration made for allowing this car going on the urban network, but also on the interurban that there were equipped with the bow collector system. Here in the 30s, you see the municipal building of Turin, the main railway station of Porta Nuova. This is Piazza Castello again with a special tourist service in the 1930s. It was a loop, a tourist loop. And now we come to the Second World War, 1940, outbreak of the Second World War. Of course, it stops any development of the tramway system. And from 1942 to 1945, we had a heavy Allied bombing on the city that caused a huge damage to vehicles, tracks, and depot. We must say that in this period, there was a great performance of the interurban tram system, because those trams used to transport a mass of people still living in the city during the day, but displaced outside at night. End of the war and reconstruction, we can say that reconstruction ended by 1949. Some casualties also among trams. And now let's see the Turin's answer to PCC. In 1942, in the midst of the war, the Fiat factory in Turin produces the first 2 European PCC prototypes under American license. Those prototypes are the 3001, bought by ATM in Torino and operated successfully in Turin, but destroyed during a bomb raid in 1943. And the second was the car 102, sold to Madrid and shipped to Spain. This was a very strange fact, but can be explained by the strong relationship that Mr. Agnelli, that was the owner of the Fiat, had with the Americans. So even if the fascist regime was not on his side, he could allow himself to build something that looked American in that period. This is a picture of the prototype. It was a beautiful car. Unfortunately, it ran just for a few months before being destroyed in an air bombing. So post-war period, I have said before that the unification of Italy was made under the monarchy of Savoy, but in 1946, a referendum, popular referendum, stated with a majority that Italy had to become a republic. It was made also because the strong responsibility that the monarchy of Savoy had during the war, because its support to the fascist regime. Anyway, we come to the 1949 when we reach the maximum extension of the urban network with 32 routes and 283 kilometers of tracks in town. 1950, the first urban motor bus entered service. Motor buses were called by letters in that period, not by numbers. Unfortunately, in those years, slight scaling of the urban tramway network begins. Conversely, the situation is worse, even worse on the interurban tram system that is going to be dismantling in some years, in just 5 or 6 years. In the 1950s, the ATM, the municipal company, begins some big modernization of this fleet by putting into service new, bigger tram cars, PCC-like 4-axle cars, like the prototype that you have seen before, but also articulated 6-axle cars. Sign of the crisis of the public transit in 1954, for the first time in its history, the ATM balance sheet closes at a loss. From now on, a contribution by the municipality will be necessary. In 1958, we have the closure of the last interurban tramway that went from Torino to Giaveno. So this is the maximum extension of the urban tram network, 1949. Some images of the last interurbans. Okay, this is the PCC-like car of the 3100 series, built by Fiat in Turin in 130 units, plus other 30 units that were a little different. They were very good cars. Now we have preserved some of them as historical cars, and they were delivered from 1949 to 1959, about 14 meters long, 2 bogies and 4 motors. The system was always the pay-as-you-pass system, so the Peter Witt system, single-ended and so on. Here you have some pictures of 1950s. You can notice the double green livery. In the 60s. And this is the 2 rooms and a bath car. There were 70 units of the 2700 series. They were built in Turin also, but not by Fiat, by SNOS, Officine di Savigliano, and delivered from 1950 to 1958, always with Peter Witt system, single-ended. And they were made assembling 2 older 2-axle cars with a new short body intermediate. You see one of them. They have been in service until the 1980s. And then an important series, the 2800, they were made by coupling 2 older 4-axle tram cars. They were built in the 30s in Turin to obtain an articulated 2-body and 3 bogies car with an Urbinati articulation device between them. They were built in Condove near Turin by the Officine Moncenisio and delivered from 1959 to 1960, 20.3 meter long. Always with Peter Witt system, so we can say that they were the only articulated Peter Witt's in circulation after the war in the world. You see one in Piazza Gran Madre coming to the terminus. Another one in Piazza Statuto. Piazza Castello in the 60s. This is the monorail that was built for the majestic Italia 61 exhibition in Turin to mark the anniversary, the centenary of the unification of Italy. So unification in Italy was 1861. 100 years later, there was this huge exhibition, and there were times in which tramways were considered old-fashioned, and also a mythical underground metro network was planned but not built. And this monorail, Alveg, looked very futuristic and was very appreciated at that time, but lasted just 2 years and was dismantled later. Speaking about dreams that didn't come true, here we can see on the left a map of the project of the pre-metro network. Let's say it's a model recalling the Brussels or the German cities, putting underground tramways in the city center, but remain on the paper only. And on the right, you see the project of the three-line fully underground metro system made in 1970 that remain also completely on the paper. So we come to the period of the big public transportation crisis. The patronage of the public transport system begins to decrease after Italy's economic boom and the growth of the mass motorization. The congestion of the traffic increases dramatically, pollution too. Some attempts are made to reserve some lanes to the public transit in the city center in 1966, but this doesn't avoid a drastic 30% cut of the tramway network, passing from 22 to 16 routes. In 1970, one-man operation was put into operation, begins on buses, while the conductors are maintained on tramcars for the time being. And in this period, the bus livery colors changed from green to red and cream. In 1973, maximum patronage is reached on the whole transport system, but the tramway network is reduced to 15 routes, but it's not dead, fortunately. This is the tram network at its minimum in 1972. Compare it with the left map of 1949. A characteristic of the Turin's tram network is the existence of a large amount of non-revenue tracks. You can see them in gray. Even today, still today, there are many of them, and this is a richness for the network because it allows detours and allows to operate the network in emergency occasions. The 70s are a decade of transition. The oil crisis in 1973 is the milestone that, let's say that it takes the public transportation crisis to an end. Fortunately, the ATM had not scrapped the 2,500 tram cars. Had been retired but not scrapped. So they could be put again in service, and later they will be assembled in pairs to become the second series of 2,800 tram cars. In 1974, the city's population reaches its maximum ever, 1,002,100 inhabitants. As I explained before, now we have 850,000 inhabitants. But in the second half of the 70s, the tramway system begins to regrowth. One new route, some new extensions are opened. And above all, modernization of the existing tram fleet is made, body reconstruction, new driving cabins and windows, additional doors, electric refurbishment, adoption of the one-man operation as a general rule. The delivery of all the urban cars change again and passes from green to double green to orange. That was all over Italy at that time. At the end of the 70s, a new transport master plan foresees a 5 lines German-style light rail network called the Metropolitana Leggera light rail, and rejects the previous idea of an completely underground heavy metro system. That, for that reason, remained on the paper, as I said before. In 1978, urban hourly flat fares are introduced. And in 79, there's the closure of the last trolleybus route. It was an interurban from Torino to Chieri. And this decade of transition, we have some images. This is Piazza Castello. You see the two liveries, the green and the red temporary livery that was assigned to the buses in those years. But then, after, the livery of all the cars, trams and buses became orange. You see that above 2 rooms and a kitchen, and a Peter Witt classic on the bottom. Here you see the transition between the two colors. On the left, the green color given to the 2 rooms and a bath car, and on the right, the new orange color given to the refurbished 3000 Fiat car. We have come to the period of the renaissance of the tramway. In 1982, we had a radical change in the transport urban system called the grid network, and an opening of the first section of a German-style LRT on line 3, so heavy protected, and also a batch of 44 rebuilt articulated tram cars that were the second series of 2,800 trams enter service. The last conductor disappears from the last trams. And then in the following years, we saw the introduction of the new technology. So the 1985 first traffic light priority system, 1987 till 1991 adoption of radio frequency switches and centralized monitoring system. In 1987, 50 new articulated tram cars of the 7,000 series entered service. They were the first fully electronic cars in Italy, but still high floor. They were high floor because they were conceived to run on the German style Stadtbahn lines, like the first section of line 3. But this is another story that we will see later. In 1919, for the European Football Championship, a new tram line opened, line 9, and a new batch of 54 articulated tram cars, the first partly low-flow cars in Italy, entered service. There were the 5,000 cars series. In 1991, there was the switch from the trolley pole to the pantographs on all the tram cars. In the first part of the 90s, a new decision was taken by the city council, a new master plan, transport master plan, that decided to build a metro, yes, an underground metro, but a light metro, a VAL system metro, the French-styled LRT system. And this took to the construction of the present line 1 upon following that concept. Another changement in the livery in 1988, colors of the urban cars change from orange to blue and yellow. Blue and yellow are the colors of the city of Turin. So this is the revised network seen in 1982. You see in the revenue tracks in red and the non-revenue tracks in silver gray. This is a project, a big plan of the future grid network to be developed in the next 30 years, comprising 5 lines of, let's call it Stadtbahn or light LRT lines, and 8 tram lines. But it remained almost all on the paper too. Anyway, the first phase of the project was to make the most of the old vehicles. So the old 2 rooms and the bath cars were maintained in service for some years with the conductor. Here we have the first restaurant tram in 1988. It should be the second restaurant tram in the world after the Melbourne one. The series 3100 were refurbished. They became orange painted with the 4 doors and with one-man operation. Also, the first series of 2800 were refurbished, repainted orange, and with one-man operation. The second series is very similar to the first one, what was obtained while the first one was made in 1959, 1960 by joining 2 old 4-axle tram cars. This one was made in 1982-83 by joining another series, another batch of 4-axle tram cars of the 30s. Phase 2, German style LRT, let's say Stadtbahn model with a happy hand. The ATM ordered 51 units. They were built by Fiat Ferroviaria and Stanga, delivered from 1983 to 1987. They were big cars, double-ended, with 2 drivers' cabins, high floor, 28 meters long, 2.5 meter wide, too wide, let's say that. 4 asynchronous 3-phase motors and a full electronic inverter control. That was an absolute new thing for the market. Capacity almost 300 passengers, multiple coupling, and it was put into service on line 3. That was the only line at the beginning that was authorized to have those big trams in service, and then also on line 9, but not on the other lines, because it was not possible for geometrical reasons to run on the normal network, because the cars were larger than the others, longer. They could not afford curves, narrow, and so on. At the end, all those cars were scrapped in 2013. Here you see one of them at the stadium, the football stadium on Route 9 in the 1990. Here with the new livery in Corso Regina Margherita on line 3 in one of the last years of the service. Let's say that the Stadtbahn high floor German system was not lucky in Turin. The politician had not the courage to build high platforms on the surface sections, and they had not the money to build tunnel sections in the center. So this project came to a failure, and a new idea took place. And the new idea was to lower the floor of the cars. This was a prototype. The first, I think this is the first of its kind in the world. It's a 2000 type tram car, refurbished and added with an intermediate lowered section. You see that the 4 doors are all low, and only the 2 extreme bogies are the traditional ones at the extremities. So the floor has been maintained high only on the 2 terminal parts and lowered in the intermediate sections. This went into operation in 1985, and the experimentation went well and took to the delivery and the construction of the 5000 series, the 54 units of the batch, built by Fiat Ferroviaria and Stanga and delivered from 1989 to 1990. They are still running today. They are single-ended, partly low floor, 22 meters long, full chopper control. And they are good cars, I should say. This is the first livery in white and yellow colors. And this is the present livery in blue, yellow, and silver. Speaking about prototypes takes us to see this one. This one is a full low-floor prototype built by Fiat Firema in 1991, but it never went into regular service. It was experimented for some months on line 3, but it didn't go well, so it was retired. And then later came a new fully low-floor tram car, the 6000 series, built by Alstom in Savigliano. Alstom bought the factory of Fiat Ferroviaria that was located in Savigliano, a small town near Turin, about 50 kilometers from Turin. And Alstom decided to stop after those batches. This one is the 55 units for Torino. There were also a batch of, I think, 15 for Messina, and other for Rome, a little longer. But after these productions, Alstom decided to stop the production of this type of tram called the Cityway, because it wanted to to boost the production of this Citadis tram in France. Anyway, these were the last trams produced in Savigliano, and they are because they are running 55, of which the first 5 are single-ended, and the other are double-ended. 34-meter long, 2.4 meters wide, 7 sections, capacity about 200 passengers, and 6 doors on each side. This is a photograph of a 6000 in the Piazza 18 Dicembre near the Porta Susa railway station. This is the line 4. Line 4 is an important project in the Torino railway tramway network, because it's a 18-kilometer long line cutting the city from north to south in a straight line. It is the most important tramway line, and it is served by the biggest tram cars. So they are the 6000 cars. You see the map of on the background. In red, there's the track. There are the tracks of the line 4, and in black, the rest of the tramway network. You can see it's a grid, and it's let's say not a perfect network. Anyway, it's a good situation, because this configuration allows detours and those to face some emergency situation. So this is line 4. Let's say that the line 4 follows the French style concept of a surface modern tram line. And it implies a complete urban redevelopment along the tram line. In the city center, we have street running sections in a historical context, while in peripheral road zones, we find reserved alignments with light protection. This is the last situation before the birth of the first metro line in 2001. Here's a list of the last developments. So we have already seen that in the first years of the millennium, a new batch of 55 new fully low-floor tram cars entered service. In 2003, the two public companies that were ATM for the urban part and SATI for the interurban are merged and become GTT. GTT means Gruppo Torinese Trasporti. In 2005, we put the foundation of ATTS as an important date. In 2006, we had in Turin the Olympic Games. And in that occasion, the first section of the automatic metro line 1 opened from Fermi to Porta Susa. And the line 4 is the most important tram line that has a full LRT standards, was completed. 1 year later, the metro line was extended to Porta Nuova, to the main railway station in the center. In 2011, for us, it was a very important date because in that year, we had the celebrations of the United Italy's 150th anniversary, and metro line was extended again to Lingotto Exhibition Center, but above all for us, the historical circular line 7 opened. In 2012, a new railway, metropolitan railway system, an S-Bahn-like system, opened using local and national railway tracks. They were concentrated on a central subway alignment that was built in the 1990s. Finally, in 2021, the Metro Line 1 was extended to Piazza Benghesi to the south. Let's say that after bad times, there were economical crises, COVID-19 pandemic, and so on. At last, 70 new tram cars were ordered. They are the 8000 series, fully low floor, and some developments of the tram and metro systems are financed, also thanks to the European PNRR funds. The PNRR, for those who are not European, are funds that the European Union is giving to the states, the member states, after the COVID pandemic, in change of developing some infrastructural works. So the transport infrastructures are affected by this. So we see the latest car, the 8000. The order has been made for 70 units. Now in this moment, I think we have reached about 35, the half of them in service. Others are arriving. They are built by Hitachi Rail Italy and delivered from 2023. The end is expected in 2026. Hitachi Rail Italy was the newcomer that took place of the Ansaldo Breda, that was a big Italian railway manufacturer. And it's now the biggest manufacturer of rail vehicles in Italy now. These Vehicles are single-ended, fully low floor, 28 meters long, 5 sections, electronic control, of course, capacity 218 passengers. Here we see the first inaugural trip in 2023 via Milano, near the City Hall. This is the current network. You see in red the revenue tram tracks, in yellow the metro line 1, in silver gray the non-revenue tracks, but anyway operational. Next developments. In the next years we we will assist to some important facts, because all these works have been financed so far. Let's begin with the first small thing, the extension of line 3, you see on the right there. By the end of the year, this line will be extended by 1 kilometer to the section that had been abandoned some years ago. And it was abandoned because on that section there is not a loop to reverse the direction, so you have to use double-ended cars. But the fact was all the double-ended cars, we have only 50 of them, were used on line 4. So there were no cars useful to run on line 3. So line 3 was limited, and this section abandoned. But in the future, the tram cars of the 6000 series will come back to line 3 because they will be taken from line 4. Line 4 is the straight longest line, because on that line that now has an unidirectional terminus, it means there is not a loop at the moment, but the new loop will be built, allowing to run that line with single-ended cars. So at the end, the new 8,000 cars that are single-ended will be allowed to run on line 4, and some of the 6,000 tram cars will be transferred from line 4 to line 3. A very complicated story, but for a short section. The next thing in 2026, on the left, you see the blue section. A new extension of Metro Line 1 will open. It's almost finished, to Collegno. And then another important thing on the north, line 10 in green, will be re-extended to the northern terminus. This section was abandoned about 10 years ago because its intermediate part was disrupted by works of the new railway alignment. But now the new works, road works and track works are proceeding, so we have hopes to restore the complete line 10 by the end of 2026. And some years later, let's say 2029, will be the turn of new line 12. Line 12, you see that in green too, will connect the football stadium at the north, passing through an underground section that was abandoned by a local railway line that was rerouted, and then joining line 4 here near the center, and going through this vertical red green line towards the hospital district and in the south. The new line 12, so it will be named 12, should be opened in 2029. And finally, new Metro Line 2 in blue. You see that line going to zigzag. This will be the first section of this new fully automated metro, going from the town center to this district in the north of the city. That's the future. And now let's see some data, more technical data about the current tram system. The routes are 7. There are 7 ordinary routes, but also one historical route, number 7, the circular route. One special route, 9B, that is run only in occasions of the matches at the football stadium. One historical rack line, the Sassi Superga. The train system has 65 kilometers of revenue system, plus 20 kilometers of planned extensions, as you have seen. 220 kilometers of tracks, of which about the half of them are protected in some way. Okay, then some data about cable switches, 720 switches, of which 200 with the radio frequency, 550 stops, 175 priority traffic lights, 5 depot, and 230 tram cars. The roster of the tram cars is composed by 102 Fiat 2800 cars, but the scrapping of those cars is in progress, because as the new Hitachi 8000 trams will come into service, correspondingly, the majority of them will be scrapped, and anyway, at the end, about 20 of them will remain in service. Then we have 53 cars of the Fiat 5000 series, 53 and not 54, because I had said before that the batch was composed by 54 cars, but actually one of them got destroyed, completely destroyed during an accident some years ago. And then 55 cars of the 6000 series, Cityway, Alstom, and 70 cars at the end of the delivery of Hitachi 8000. Those are the 4 types in revenue service now. Let's have a look to some special cars. We have 2 restaurant cars, 1 sand car, 1 theater car. This is the Sander, the sand car. It is an old 2-axle tram car, modified for sanding. The 2 tram cars have been modified on the basis of vehicles of the 2800 series. One is the white one called Aristocolor, and the other one is the Gusto Tram, white and red. This is the theater car. It's a one of its kind car, very peculiar because one side can be opened like a bridge and becomes a stage. So it is used rarely, not so often, but because it's just complicated to put it, to have the permits of put it on the public road and so on. Anyway. And the historical Sassi-Superga rack tramway. This is a really historic line run by 3 rack motor cars built in 1934, 4 rack trailers built in 1884 that are among the oldest rail cars in Italy. 1 shunter, you can see that in the small picture, and 2 freight wagons. And line 7, line 7, let's call it a museum in motion. The aim is of valorizing the tramway as a cultural heritage of the city, and it was promoted by ATTS and operated by GTT, opened in 2011. And it was inspired by the Market Street Railway in San Francisco. Actually, it is operated by the original historic tram cars, but it is also fully integrated into the ordinary urban network. So the fares are the normal fares, and it runs on Sundays and holidays all year round, with departures every hour. This is the map of the circular route. You see the terminus in Piazza Castello, the core center of the city. This is the roster of the historical tram fleet in Turin. The property of the historical cars is GTT or ATTS. You see, if you see the asterisk, it means that the property is of GTT. You see, we have 16 cars restored and in running order, and other 5 cars under restoration, plus other 5 cars awaiting restoration. Not only Turin cars, but also cars from other cities, Italian cities, but also one from Munich, Germany. This is a parade of historical Turin tram cars. We'll come to Turin in December. We'll be able to see them all together in the parade. This is a static horsecar exposed at the station of the Sassi-Superga. This is the image of the tram parade of December 2022, and this was the first tram, the oldest of our trams that opened the parade, followed by the newcomer, the Hitachi 8000, that had just entered service in those days. Another two-axle car in the city center. This is a picture showing 3 identical Peter Witt 4-axle cars, all restored and in running order. This is a historical 3000 Fiat car in service on line 7. This is the 2 rooms and a bath 2700 series, the only 2 rooms and a bath in operational in Italy at the moment, one of the few in the world. The articulated Peter Witt 2847 restored on line 7. These are historical cars from other cities. On the left, anti-clockwise, you begin with the Trieste, operation in running order, then Milan under restoration, Naples under restoration, Bologna in running order, Rome in running order, Munich under restoration, and at the center, the articulated Urbinati car from the Rome, from the Castelli Romani network. It was the first articulated tramway in the history with the Urbinati articulation device. A bigger photograph of the Bologna car in service in Piazza Gran Madre, the Rome in Piazza Castello, Trieste, Munich. This is the trailer. We have a full set of motor car and trailer, 3-axle cars. These are 2 historic buses. The double-decker was a typical, particular bus built for the Italia 61 big exhibition of 1961 in Torino. Okay, we are going to the end of the presentation. Just a reminder about what the ATTS does. ATTS is one of its kind organization in Italy. It was established 20 years ago, so in 2005. It is a registered charity, all volunteer-based, with about 450 members, 80 operational active volunteers, and it is an official partner of GTT. Our mission is to promote the knowledge of the tramway system, to safeguard the safeguard of the historic vehicles as a cultural heritage of the city, acquisition and restoration of historic vehicles, of course, events and tours, conferences and convention, modeling, publishing, historical and technical tram archive, special projects. And now let's have a look to the program of the next conference that will take place in Turin from the 5th to the 7th December. It is a program, a 3-day program. In the first day, on Friday afternoon, we start with the welcome and registration of the people coming to the conference. And the first day will be based in Sassi, while the second day will be based in Hotel Carlina in the town center, and the third day completely outside in the center for the parade and so on. So in the first day, on Friday, we have programmed a visit to the Sassi railway station and museum. There is a small museum, transport museum inside. Then a technical tour aboard the vintage trams, including a visit to the Tortona depot Tortona Depot is one of the two depots, tram depots, recovering the fleet, the historical fleet, and the Turin Public Transport Company main tram workshop. The main tram workshop is beside the Tortona Depot. Then a ride up to Superga by Tramway, a dinner with a panoramic view from Superga. Superga is a beautiful hill. On the top of the hill, there's a big church, and there's a station, the arrival station of the wreck, with a restaurant and bar and beautiful view. Let's hope will not rain that night. Then we return down to Sassy on the right triangle and back to the town center with a vintage tram shuttle for those who want to go to the center. And the next day on Saturday, this day is completely dedicated to the convention taking place inside the Hotel Carlina. Hotel Carlina is placed in Piazza Carlina. It's a beautiful square with the tramway tracks and a loop in the center. So the convention will open about at 9:30 in the morning with a first session of presentation. Then there's a possibility to have a lunch aboard the dining restaurant tram cars. And then again to the hotel with a model display, special tram model display, and the second and third session of presentation. Then the afternoon will be concluded by a tour with a vintage tram in the town center on the Luci d'Artista exhibition. Luci d'Artista are special public lights that are lightened in the Christmas, in the December period, and made especially by artists, and they're very characteristic. It's really worthwhile seeing them. And on a Sunday, the core of the Trolley Festival will have a gazebo, a white gazebo at the center of Piazza Castello, and the core of the day will be the big parade. We hope to put together 25 vehicles, vintage but also modern trams, special works trams, vintage buses, and so on. And the parade will be particularly long, going from Piazza Statuto, that is at one extremity of the town center, to the other one, Piazza Vittorio Veneto, and will end at about 1 o'clock. In the afternoon, there will be a possibility to run with on board of the vintage trams and buses for all the afternoon. This is the list of the presentations that we have collected so far. It's almost ultimate. You see that we have collected about 18 countries all over the world, and we have Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Czechia, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, New Zealand, Poland, Portugal, Sweden, Switzerland, USA, and also South Africa has been added a couple of days ago. If you are interested to attending the conference, the contacts are a special email address ttf25@atts.to.it. Of course, anyway, our internet site. And to support the ATTS, we have launched last year a special online membership especially for foreigners, for 15 years old only, to support us in our activities. But ordinary fares are 30 euros and meritorious 150 euros. You also can make a donation in every moment, and all donation will flow into the special fund for restoration of historical tram cars, or even buying our books, a wide choice of books published by ATTS. Some of them are in English with a discount for members. And that's all. Thank you for your attention. If you have some questions, I am here at your disposal.